everyone, my name is Miranda and today I'm here to review episode 3 of Class. And really quickly before I get started, if you haven't seen episode 1 or 2, my reviews of them, I'm going to leave a link to those in the description box down below if you feel like checking them out, you know, just a suggestion wise. But I am checking on through Class. I'm still behind a lot. So episode 3, I'm only on episode 3, so it's a pretty low bar, but I have to say that I think episode 3 is my favorite so far. Like, I really liked episode 1 and 2, but I don't know, there was just something about this episode that I feel like it really connected, like, the story and the characters, and what I think really worked for me, too, was you kind of got to see, characters that you wouldn't necessarily think would interact very well, react very well together. So, for example, April and Ram were really cool to see them kind of branch out and be on their own, and then also Charlie and, I can't say the boyfriend's name, I'm so sorry, it's like, Matteusz or something like that. I will learn it for episode 4, I promise. I'm gonna study that up, but I'm just gonna call him Charlie's boyfriend right now. I love him, I'm sorry that I can't pronounce his name, but it was cool to see kind of everyone had their own little thing to do, and I really liked that, especially the April and Ram thing, because I honestly, like, just I didn't think of them. To me, it would be like Charlie and Tanya. Like, I don't really think of them as being that close, so, like, to see a whole episode kind of around them and around them helping each other was really, really awesome. But this episode was focused primarily on Tanya in a way that I would say episode 2 was focused on Ram, and then it was dealing with the grief from her father's death and all the repercussions that she still has from that. And I just need to pause for a moment because I forgot to mention this in my other 2 episodes. But one thing that really irks me about this show is that these kids do not look like teenagers. Like, you could sell me, you could make a pitch for April and Charlie. I could believe those. But Ram looks like he graduated college, like, no way, already done. And Tanya, she's supposed to be 14, and she does not look 14, and it made it even more apparent in these flashbacks when they made her, because the flashbacks to 2 years ago, she was supposed to be 12. She did not look like a 12-year-old, and that irritated me so much. Like, I guess I get spoiled with SCOM because, like, they actually cast teenagers as teenagers in that show, but just, ugh, it just irked me. But it was interesting to see, again, like, a focus on Tanya in this episode. I think that was really cool to see kind of how her grief is so, I feel like it was interesting that they picked her, like the little monster that came to feed on her grief, because you would think that after, like, everything that happened last episode, Ram would be the one that had the most grief, but I guess, like, hers was the most prolonged, and hers was the strongest because it did turn into anger, like she said, and like she used to fight off the monster at the end. But I was just surprised because it seemed like she was kind of, like, not accepting of it, but that she had made her peace with it in episode 2 when she's explaining it to Ram. So I would have thought that, you know, Ram was the one who had the most grief, but it was actually her. And that does bring up the point that I don't know, I think, like, I could be wrong, I could just be jumping, but I feel like there was, like, a few weeks gap in between episode 2 and episode 3, just because Matteusz, Charlie's boyfriend, does say something along the lines of, like, oh, these past few weeks with you have been great, and, like, when he said that, I was confused, because I was like, wait, didn't he just ask you out, like, a week ago? Because, like, episode 2 was fairly well after episode 1, like, basically right after, so I was confused by that. But then I was also confused with April and Ram. Where did that come from, guys? I did not see that coming at all, and especially considering the last episode he was grieving so hard over Rachel, and he had just seen her at the beginning, so I was like, dude, you're moving on super quick. But then I was like, pause. If this really is like a few weeks later, that makes more sense, because he's had more time to adjust, and he's obviously in a different place than the Ram we saw in episode 2. So I don't know. Again, I could be wrong. That's just the vibe I got from the way that everyone was talking, and it also kind of made me more accepting of the April and Ram thing, because it definitely, like, it was weird that, like, I was like, dude, you were just crying over your girlfriend, and now you're kissing April. Like, I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong. I actually kind of like April and Ram, because, like, they are a couple that I was not expecting. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, your girlfriend just died. Like, I was surprised he moved on that quickly. And that it also seemed like, I thought for sure they were going to have a talk at the end where he was like, you know, like, I know we kissed, but, like, that was a mistake. But no, instead he was kind of like, yo, you're not actually a bad person. I kind of like talking to you. And I was like, wow, the growth on these two is amazing. I have to say that I did know about April's dad and all that stuff, because I got spoiled on Tumblr for it. I like that they could kind of bond over that, and that we've seen April mention a few times that she hates when people treat her like she's gonna break, like she's so sweet and so nice and that's all she is, because like that's kind of how she fights back against the world and all the darkness in it, is she wants to be a good person and she wants to be able to kind of make sense of it in a world that doesn't want her to, and I really, really respect that for her. I'm loving April's storyline the more we got, and I love that Ram kind of sees that and is drawn to it, in that he sees this girl who like sees how horrible the world is and refuses to kind of roll over and play along with it. She actively fights back against it, and not even in a bad way, just by being a nice person and being sensible is her fighting back against it. So I like how he thought that was super cool. And then can we just talk about Charlie and his boyfriend for a second? This is where I really wish I could pronounce his name, because like I feel like I'm degrading him to just Charlie's boyfriend, but I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I really love their little love, like, nest that they had going on in this episode, and now that he's fully moved in, it's just beautiful, because I like that they're kind of bringing him in and kind of not making him, you know, like, just a stupid love interest that's kind of just, like, there and getting in the way. Like, he's actively helping Charlie to solve these mysteries and fight these things. Like, my favorite was when he was cutting down the roots and, like, trying. I was like, you go, man, you're so cool. So I like that he's not just, you know, he's not just there to be the love interest. Like, he actually serves a purpose to Charlie, and they serve a purpose to each other. I mean, I think we really saw that in their wishing scene. Instead of an I love you scene, it was a wishing scene where they said that, like, they really want to be with each other, and they feel kind of the sense of calm and belonging that they haven't gotten anywhere else with each other. But then also, like, I like that he's not like, oh, you shouldn't be fighting these monsters, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's going out and he's helping you fight, and I like that they're both, like, dependent on each other but trust each other enough to go out. So I really, really love them, and I think like it was sudden to see like all of a sudden like April and Ram kiss, and then these two are like saying I love you, because I feel like it's only episode 3, so it is moving a bit fast. But that's where again I think that if it's like a few weeks jump, that makes more sense, I guess. Like I'm more open to it, as opposed to being like this all just happened a week ago and now you're like what's happening. So it was just overall a really, really cool episode, and I think I really love the parallel between like Tanya and her dad and Miss Quill and her sister, and how they each had different reactions to it. Miss Quill was just phenomenal, can I tell you. She had some of the best lines. First of all, when she's reading Hunger Games and she's like, did this really happen? And then when she figures out that the thing isn't really her sister, and she's like, I won't let anyone disgrace my sister's memory by pretending she was nice or something like that, you know? Like, it was just so funny. And then when she got the bus too, and Matteusz was like, does she have a bus? And Charlie's like, yeah, she's very resourceful. And then we also got like a hint of like maybe she is actually growing closer to the kids, because we saw her kind of like on the outside watching them all kind of hug and tell each other their stories and making sure each other was safe. And she kind of looked wistful. Like she kind of wanted someone to ask her, you know, what was going on and how she was feeling or what she did and stuff like that. So I feel like that's going to be interesting if she wants to be included, because I think the group definitely, like, does take advantage of her, even though, like, she's super mean to them, so why would they want to include her, you know, and stuff like that. But I feel like they're not going to be able to pick up on, like, when she is feeling upset or something like that, because Charlie even says, like, he kind of, like, he's a nice guy, but, like, whenever he talks about Miss Quill, it's always like, oh, she has to do what I say, like, I told her this, she can't do that, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just never seems like on a friend level. So I feel like that they're obviously not on a friend level yet, but if she wanted to be, and like if she's feeling hurt that they're all getting closer and they're kind of still cutting her out, I could see where they wouldn't be, like, they'd be oblivious to that, you know? So overall, great episode. Like I said, my favorite thus far. I really, really like all the developments with Charlie and his boyfriend, whose name I promise I will learn how to pronounce in the next video. And April and Ram, even that, I don't know how that's going to work, if they're going to end up together or not, but it's cute. It's cute. I think they're a good balance to each other. And then Tanya, all she realized about her grief with her dad and moving on and kind of, you know, making, not it being okay, but just that she can talk about it now. I think seeing her talk about it with her mom instead of pushing it down was really, really great. So I love this episode, and if you've seen it, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and be on the lookout for episode 4, which will be coming out shortly. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!